What's up, you mad dogs? Today we're going to break down the full card for this week's UFC Fight Night. Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. Quite the step down from the last 2 weeks of UFC, but needs to be said, I think there's some pretty fun matchups on this card, and I'm looking forward to jump into them. So without further ado, we won't waste any time. We'll jump right into it. Work our way from the bottom right up to the top, and yeah, we'll look at every fight on the card, and I'll give you my predictions, method, all the above. You know the goods. Let's get right into it. First fight of the night. We didn't have any of these last week. You had to hold your piss. You didn't get to go to the toilet. Claudia Segula versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm actually going to go with Claudia Segula on this fight. She's not as experienced as Cachoeira, I know. But I feel like Cachoeira's fight style may be starting to catch up with her. She is coming off a brutal knockout loss to Jocelyn Edwards. Now, I don't want to go ahead and put Segula on the level that Jocelyn Edwards is. But I just feel like Cachoeira's style is really going to catch up with her now. Especially that she's coming off that loss, that knockout loss. And I could possibly see something like that happening again. She just leaves her chin out there so much that it's just, she's always going to be getting hit. I know she throws with some absolute fucking heat. It needs to be said, she could just put Segula out here. Segula did suffer a knockout loss to Melissa Mullins, I think 2 fights ago. It was a ground and pound knockout, but still, it is on the record. So I could see a world where Priscilla lands something big and puts her out, but I'm going to bank on the fact that she's 37 now, and I feel like that style is just, you can't really keep going on with that style as you get into those older years. And I feel like Claudia Segula is going to win this fight by knockout. I could see a decision too, but I'm going to say knockout. I'm not too confident on this pick, but that's it. Claudia Segula by knockout. That's my pick for this fight, which will take us to our next one. I was a little bit back and forth on this fight. Muin Gafarov versus Jakub Wiklatz. Gafarov, he's coming off of that fraud check win to Rinya Nakamura. I think that was at UFC 311 last year. And Jakub, he's coming off that split decision win over Patchy Mix. We've come to see that Patchy Mix just is not the level of the UFC, so not sure how much credit you can really give him for that win. But I am going to side with him to win this fight. I found out today that he's the underdog. When I do these predictions, by the way, I never look at the odds until after I'm finished doing the predictions. So yeah, surprised to see that he was the underdog here. Muin, he's not that bad, but yeah, I just feel like in this fight, he's been susceptible to a guillotine submission in the past in his fight with Said Nurmagomedov. And I could see that happening again here. Gafarov is going to have the advantage on the feet. He's going to have the advantage in the power. So if Jakub can't force the grappling, then we might see some problems here, and I could see Gafarov actually landing a knockout. But I feel like Wiklatz is going to be able to force the pace and force some grappling transitions. And with that, I feel like he's going to be able to find a submission, possibly a guillotine or something. Maybe he lands a couple of strikes and Gafarov shoots him for a takedown, sticks his head in a ghillie. And yeah, that's what I'm going to go with on this fight. I was back and forth on it. Like I said, not that much of a high confidence pick, but yeah, I'm leaning more the side of Wiklatz here, and I'm going to stick with that. By submission, let's say round number 2. Fuck it. And that brings us to yet another toilet break. I'm actually pretty keen for this fight. I won't lie. I think this is a pretty good matchup. Wang Kong versus Eduardo Mora. You've got a, typical striker versus grappler matchup. Wang Kong, technical kickboxer. Very good with the kickboxing, striking. Has good power in the hands, has good finishing ability. And she's coming up against a heavy pressure grappler in Eduarda Moira. She will chase the takedowns heavily, look for top control, and she can strike too. I found she leaves her chin up a bit when she does throw, so I feel like a technical striker like Wang Kong can really take advantage of those moments. Now, I can see a world here where Eduardo Moira possibly just out-grapples Wang Kong for 3 rounds. Maybe even pick up a submission of some sort, but I'm going to lean the side of Wang Kong. I feel like she can defend the takedowns. And once Moira starts to slow in like the later second and third round, I can see a late round TKO from Wang Kong. I feel like she can find the mark when Eduardo is forced to strike. And I feel like she's going to be able to land something on that chin and put her down and follow up and get a TKO. I'm going to say in round 3 this time. I feel like it's going to be a late TKO. I feel like Eduardo Moira can win probably the first round, especially with heavy grappling pressure. But I am going to say Wang Kong gets it done here. And I think I've got a feeling this is going to be some highlight reel shit. I could see even a big head kick of some sort. You know, I've just got a weird feeling. I wrote it down when I was doing this prediction that I could possibly see a highlight reel KO here from Wang Kong. Eduardo's never been finished though, so maybe not. Maybe I'm dreaming that we're going to get some excitement in a women's fight. One can dream, boys. Come on. One can dream. Next fight of the night. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Javid Basharat. This is one of 2 Basharat brothers fighting on this card. They're both here fighting. Both of these fighters coming off 2 losses in a row. Both by decision. Oh no. Javid was caught catching Z's. Fucking out cold by Ricky Simone. That's right. Yeah, Javid Basharat coming off that brutal knockout loss to Ricky Simone. And Nurmagomedov is coming off that decision loss to Bryce Mitchell, where he had good success early with the striking, but slowed down, and the holes in the grappling got to him there. In this fight, I'm actually going to side with Saeed Nurmagomedov. I haven't picked him to win many of his fights in the past, but I'm just not that big of a fan of Javid Basharat. I feel like he just doesn't do enough damage. He's a kick-heavy style. He can mix in the grappling. He does have a submission threat. But then again, so does Saeed. So I feel like the BJJ could probably cancel out here. And I feel like we could possibly have a striking matchup on our hands, because unless Javid pushes a heavy wrestling pressure and wants to expose those holes in Nurmagomedov, I'm not sure if he has the ability to quite do so, like a Bryce Mitchell or someone like that who was. I just feel like this fight's going to stay on the feet, and I feel like it's not going to last too long. I think that last knockout for Javid Basharat was really, really bad, and I could see that wearing into this fight, lasting into this fight, you know? I don't know, they're not the right words I was looking for, but I think Saeed Nurmagomedov is going to win this fight by knockout, and I think he'll do it inside the first round. He's very, very good and very powerful with his shots early on. Very, very kick heavy as well. So we could have a pretty fun stand-up kickboxing fight here, with both fighters throwing out a lot of kicks. Saeed is very, very good with that lead leg. Throws up that lead question mark kick and lead leg kicks, lead fucking head kicks very well, and he has very, very good power with him. I could see him landing something like that. Even the spinning back kicks to the body. I feel like he's going to land something, and I feel like he's going to put down Javid Basharat, and I'm going to say he does it in the first round. That's my pick for this fight. I think he's another underdog, so we're going with a few underdogs in this card. We'll see how we go. I went very good on predictions last week, and I'm pretty confident on these ones too. So, and that takes us to yet another toilet break. Bruna Brazil versus Ketlin Souza. I I fucking struggle with picking Ketlin Souza fights. Souza, however you say it. Uh, I'm going to pick her to win here. I'm going to take Ketlin Souza over Bruna Brazil. I just feel like she's got the power advantage. Bruna Brazil, she can work well at range. She can mix in the grappling, and maybe that's going to be her keys to victory here. Souza did deal with a lot of grappling troubles in her last fight. She was just held down for a lot of it. But I'm going to go with Ketlin Souza here. I feel like she can pull off a decision based off of damage for the most part. We're in the apex here. They're going to be looking at damage over anything. I feel like she can put some damage on Bruna Brazil, get in the pocket, get close to her, and land some big shots. I don't see her getting a knockout, but maybe it could be possible. She does have a decent finishing percentage, so it's not completely unlikely, but I will side with the decision here. Bruna Brazil, she's coming off that win over Shi Ming, and she was sent back to the Road to UFC finals for that. I don't know if that was just like they needed someone to fill the spot and they got her in. But yeah, I'm not too sure if she's still with the Fighting Nerds. I'd say she would be. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ketlin Souza here. I feel like she's more experienced, more UFC experience. I feel like she can land the more damaging shots and avoid the grappling threats from Bruna Brazil. Souza by decision. I won't spend too much time on it. Next fight of the night. Before I came to make this video, I hadn't broken down this fight just yet. I loaded up this page and noticed, wow, they've added this fight. This is a short notice add-in. Nikolai Veretennikov versus Nico Price. Now, I feel like they're being pretty mean to Nico Price here. I don't rate Nikolai Veretennikov that much. He gasses out. He's got holes in the grappling. He can be held down. But he's got big power. Big power in the hands, and he's got big power early. And I think that's going to be a problem here for Price. He does have 5 knockout losses on his career. He's 1-4 in his last 5. And that one was to Alex Morono, who is falling off just as Nico Price is. I don't see a world where Nico Price gets this done. Maybe we could see a crafty decision. Take Nikolai into the late rounds. He does tire. He does slow a lot. So maybe. I feel like if there's a risk, that's going to be it. We see Nico Price give us a little crafty veteran decision. Show us that Unk still got it. But I don't see it happening. With 5 knockout losses on the record, I'm going to take Nikolai Veretennikov to win this fight by knockout in the very first round. I have a very vivid memory of Nico Price getting knocked out to a very aged Robbie Lawler. I think that's all that needs to be said. I know it's Robbie Lawler, but it was Robbie Lawler, I'm about to retire Robbie Lawler, you know? And that's not a good look. Maybe Nico Price should have retired too. He's coming off that submission loss to Jacob Smith. And I think he's going to lose another finish. I think he's going to lose by finish again here. Knockout, to be specific. I'm working on getting my words right in these things, boys. I'm working on it, all right? Next fight of the night. Speaking of Alex Morono, we have Alex Morono versus Daniil Donchenko. Now, Daniil Donchenko, tough winner last year. Coming off that pretty brutal knockout win over Nascimento, was it? Rodrigo Nascimento? Something like that. Where he just showed vicious ability to throw elbows. His elbows were just insane. He cut Rodrigo up early. I hope I'm talking about the right fucking fighter here. He cut him up early with vicious elbows. Had a big cut on the inside of his eye there very early on. He was bleeding heaps. And yeah, that was the story of the fight, basically. Very, Very physical fighter. Big power in the hands. And like I said, those fucking elbows do work. Honest to God. I can't see a world, once again, where Alex Morono wins this fight. He's coming off that round 1 knockout loss to Carlos Leal. Leal, that hasn't aged the best. I know he had a good fight over Renat Fakhretdinov, which was a robbery loss, but still, Alex Morono, he's just... I feel like you could break him and Nico Price down in the same boat and just say, he doesn't really got it no more. He could maybe take this late, like I said, with the Nico Price fight. He can maybe take this late, give us a crafty fucking veteran decision win. But I don't see it happening. I feel like the physicality of Daniil Donchenko is going to be way too much. I feel like he's going to be able to land those elbows early, land the big shots early. He can mix in the grappling if he needs to as well. I just don't see a world where Daniil Donchenko does not knock out Alex Morono in the first round. So, Daniil Donchenko, round 1 knockout. That's 2 in a row. Let's see how we go with those. I'm pretty confident on this pick as well. This isn't a short notice edition, I don't believe. Yeah. Daniil Donchenko, round 1 knockout. That's my pick for this fight. And that will bring us to the main card, where we have a short notice edition, but he was training. Dustin Jacoby versus Julius Walker. This was meant to be Uran Satiboldio versus Julius Walker, I believe. Was that this one? Yes, that was this one. And Dustin Jacoby, he was supposed to fight Jimmy Crute last week. Jimmy Crute, obviously, that ACL injury, very sad. So Jacoby, he was in camp. This is a short notice edition, but he was in camp, so I'm not too worried about that. And coming up against a young prospect in Julius Walker, who's coming off that decision win over Rafael Kakira. I can never say that guy's fucking name properly. Where he outworked him, but he should have finished him, you know. Sequeira has been finished by everyone else he's come up against in the UFC very early. And I feel like, I mean, he's not the worst prospect, but I feel like that kind of shines a light on his ceiling right now. I feel like that's a safe way to put it. And Dustin Jacoby, he's an elite technical kickboxer, kickboxing history. Fights with Alex Pereira, I believe, in kickboxing. And I think he's going to be able to find the shots. I noticed in the fight with Rafael Kakira, with Julius Walker, Sequeira was fucking landing on him with big shots early and late. Late in the third too. But early on, Julius was copping some big shots. He leaves openings in the striking. And I think Dustin Jacoby is going to be able to expose that. My risk here with this one is Julius mixes in the grappling and puts on a heavy grappling pace. But that, he showed in his last fight that he doesn't have the cardio to quite do that for 3 rounds. And if he does that for 2 rounds here and he comes out in the third very tired, like he did in the fight with Rafael Sequeira, I could see Jacoby putting him out bad there. I'm going to take just Dustin Jacoby to win this fight by knockout in the second round. But I could see a round 3 TKO here too, or even a clean knockout to a tired Julius Walker. I feel like Julius will mix in the grappling early. I feel like maybe he'll take that first round, but I can see Jacoby starting to land on him more, defend the takedowns. He does have good takedown defense, so I can see that happening later in the fight. I'm going to say second round knockout, but I could see it happen in the third too. Dustin Jacoby, round 2 knockout. That's my pick for this fight. And that will bring us to our next fight. The second Basharat brother. The better Basharat brother. Farid Basharat versus Jean Matsumoto. This is a good fight. I'm looking forward to this fight. I feel like this is pretty good matchmaking. I feel like we're going to get some pretty fun scrambles in this fight. And just a pretty fun fight all round. These are two really good prospects on the rise right now. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Gene Matsumoto, he's coming off a split decision win over Miles Johns. I don't feel like that should have been a split decision. I feel like he won that clearly. And before that, he took a short notice fight against Rob Font. I thought he won that live. It was a very, very close fight though. So, not a robbery, but I feel like the judges could have given it to Matsumoto. But I think they gave it to Font based off of the damage. He eventually opened a cut. But like I mentioned, he took that fight on, I think, 11 days notice. So, and that's his only loss. That's his only loss. And that's against a very, very experienced, high experienced UFC fighter who's been in the UFC for quite some time. And he's very, very good on the feet. And he's improved his grappling. And there was some really, really good scrambles in that fight. Matsumoto was able to get his own striking off, even though he was getting rocked here and there. He never got dropped, and he was able to keep throwing wild shit right through 3 rounds. And Farid Basharat, who did he fight last? What the fuck? My memory's just gone fucking blank on this one. Who did Farid... I think he's coming off the decision win over Chris Gutierrez. There might have been another one in between. Anyways, Farid, he can mix in the striking and the grappling. A lot of kicks, very kick-heavy approach. Not that powerful. These Basharat boys, they're not that powerful. They don't have crazy power in their hands, you know? They don't have crazy power in their hands, and I feel like as they get higher and higher up the rankings, that's going to become a bit of a problem. He does have a good submission threat, but I feel like in this fight, both fighters have very, very good BJJ and grappling. And I could possibly see the grappling getting cancelled out here. I could see some scrambles for sure, but I feel like both fighters here are very, very good. And I am going to side here with Gene Matsumoto. I know he's an underdog as well. Farid Basharat, he's undefeated. I feel like with that Rob Font loss, I mean, you could have given that to him, so he could still be undefeated, Matsumoto I'm talking about. But I'm going to say he wins this fight based off of round 2 and 3. I think Farid will come out quick. He's very, very quick with the shots. I think he'll land early and probably outpace Matsumoto for the first round. But I think Matsumoto's constant work and, you know, ability to make it a bit gritty, I think that's going to wear on Basharat. And I think once he starts to slow down a little bit, Matsumoto will be able to land more. And I think he's going to have more power in his hands. I think his shots are going to be able to do more damage. And I think later on in the fight, he's going to be able to really wear on Basharat and just outdo him, outwork him as the fight goes on. I'm going to take him to win Gene Matsumoto by decision based off of round 2 and 3 in the fight. And yeah, great fight. I'm looking forward to this one. I feel like the matchmakers have done pretty good with this one. And yeah, next fight of the night. This is going to be a fun one. I think this will be a very fun fight. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Look, what can I say? Basically, we've got 2 fucking brawlers ready to swing. That's about it. That's about all I need to say for this fight. Heavy, heavy power in the hands of both sides. I feel like Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, he has the advantage in the power. I feel like he has the advantage in the striking technicality. I feel like he's going to be the better fighter all around. And I'm going to take Mikhail Oleksiejczuk to win this fight by knockout in the first round. I feel like he's got the better chin. I feel like he's better all around. And Marc-Andre, he's been knocked out, I think, 3 times now. So, look. 16 or so knockout wins on Mikhail Oleksiejczuk's record. MMA math, it adds up sometimes, boys. Well, what can I say? Mikhail Oleksiejczuk by knockout in the first round. I feel like he's going to land a crazy overhand bomb. I don't see this fight getting out of the first round. Yeah, Mikhail always brings that forward pressure, and he's going to do it again here. And he's going to wear on the aging Marc-Andre Barriault, and I think he's going to put him out bad in the first round. That's my pick for this fight. I don't think there needs to be much more said on that one. And that'll bring us to the feature fight. This was meant to be something else as well. Rizvan Kuniev was meant to be fighting... Fuck. Can't remember. I can't fucking hell. My memory's shocking tonight. Anyways, Jailton Almeida stepping in on short notice here to replace someone who I can't remember for some reason to save the life of me. Fuck, I don't know. I don't want to look it up. I just want to remember it. Anyways, into this fight. Jailton Almeida, heavy grappling pressure style. Basically, he's just going to want to get takedowns, get top control. He's got good submission ability, but he doesn't always... He's happy to stay safe. You know, he's not always going to abandon the position if he sees a possible submission. He's going to keep it safe. He's very, very happy to keep it safe. And yeah, I feel like his striking is very basic. He has been knocked out before. Knocked out by Curtis Blades on a takedown entry. Yeah. Coming up against Rizvan Kuniev. This guy's going to be looking to strike. He's going to be looking to keep the fight on the feet. He's a pretty powerful striker. Coming out of PFL, he's coming off that split decision loss to Curtis Blades. He did pop for some banned substance in his PFL career. I feel like that needs to be mentioned. But looking at that fight with Curtis Blades, I feel like Curtis was able to get to his hips pretty easily. And I think if Jailton Almeida can do that, I feel like he's going to get the takedowns. And once he's got it to the ground, once he's got this guy on his back, I feel like that's a wrap. And I feel like we're going to see a Jailton Almeida submission for once. I feel like we're going to see a Jailton Almeida submission. I'm going to say he gets it done in the first 2 rounds. Will I be surprised if he lays on top of him for 15 minutes and in hopes of a decision? Probably not. He did it to Volkov last time out, but the judges didn't give it to him. I feel like he won that fight, but Volkov got a bit of damage off and the judges were happy to give it to Volkov. I wasn't complaining. Because Jailton Almeida did his absolute best to make that a shit fucking fight. So I was happy to see him lose that. Even though I had money on that shit, I was happy to see him lose that. I feel like he's going to get the job done here. I feel like Rizvan Kuniev is not to the level of grappling that Jailton Almeida is. And I feel like he's going to be able to get him to his back and find, I'd say, like a head and arm triangle or... Yeah, probably that. Probably like that, or a rear naked choke. Something like that. Find the back. You know. Seal the deal. I feel like we're going to get a Jailton Almeida submission. I'm going to say round 2. Submission in round 2 by Jailton Almeida. That's my pick for this fight. And that brings us to the co-main event of the evening. Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. Now, Amir Albazi's been out for some time now. He's dealt with bad injuries. He did have to get 2 surgeries before his last fight, which was with Brandon Moreno. I feel like that was back in 2024, like late 24, but it might have been early last year. But yeah, he had a back surgery, I think, or a neck surgery, and a heart surgery as well, which is pretty fucking full on. You got to feel for the dude. But I don't like him. I don't like the way he fights. I've still got a bad taste in my mouth from that Kai Kara France robbery, you know? Kai won that fight. Still to this day, I call that shit. Albazi, he's going to look to grapple. He can strike fair enough, like decent enough. But I don't think he's going to be able to stand on the feet with Kyoji Horiguchi. I feel like he needs to initiate the grappling here. Kyoji Horiguchi, veteran of the sport. We spoke about him pretty recently. He's coming off that win submission round 3 over Tagir Ulanbekov. Pretty impressive win. Ulanbekov isn't all that, but to come back into the UFC after some time, pull off that win over a prospect training with Khabib and Islam and all them, I feel like that's a good win. You have to give him good props for that. And in that fight, man, he just worked Ulanbekov badly, using kicks and everything, even getting good grappling transition of his own. But those kicks, ripping up the legs, ripping the body kicks, eventually dropping Tagir with a body kick, which led to the finishing sequence where he got the submission on the back. I feel like we're going to get a similar story in this fight. I could see some early grappling success from Amir Albazi. There's a big question mark here on how he's going to return after the layoff. But I just don't see a world where Amir Albazi wins this fight. I feel like he can get some early success with the grappling, but I think Kyoji Horiguchi is talented enough, experienced enough, has the skills under his belt to defend the takedowns, stay off the ground, be able to get the fight back up to the feet if it goes there, if it does go to the ground. And I think on the feet, he's going to rip Amir Albazi apart badly. And I think I can see a round 3 knockout here. I can definitely see a finish. I'm going to say a round 3 knockout. That's 2 round 3s. I don't go with round 3 finishes very often, but I can see that happening here. I can see a round 2 or 3 knockout. I'm going to lean the side of round 3. I just think the pressure of Horiguchi is going to wear on Albazi. And once he can't get those takedowns, it's going to be a wrap. Couldn't beat Brandon Moreno. And look, Brandon Moreno is not bad. Obviously, he's former champ, all that. But Kyoji Horiguchi, I feel like he's going to dog walk here. He's going to fucking take the dog for a walk. And he's going to make it look pretty fucking easy when he does it too. Round 3 knockout for Kyoji Horiguchi. That's my pick for this fight. And that takes us to... I've been fence sitting this shit, boys. I've been fence sitting this shit. Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. Where do I start? Okay, Bautista coming off that decision loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, where he kept it close. He had his moments. Before that, coming off a win to Patchy Mix, which hasn't aged all that good. He's good. Mario Bautista is very, very good. Very technical. He's good everywhere too. He can strike, he can grapple. Got a good submission threat. Not crazy power in the hands or anything, but he's technically sound, defensively sound. And he's coming up against a fucking car accident. Vinicius Oliveira. Yeah, this dude just comes at you like a fucking... He just makes fights car crashes. Basically. I don't know what other way to put it. But this is one of the wildest fighters I've seen. The way he just walks forward, non-stop forward pressure, hands down. There is holes in the striking. He's been caught early in the past. He did get cracked early in his last fight as well, and it looked like it could be bad early on, but his pressure, it just seems to wear on blokes. It just seems to fucking take it out of blokes. Constantly in your face. Big fucking head movement. Dips. Big dips to the side. I feel like that's all stuff that can be taken advantage of. But the way he does it is really impressive. He manages to stay out of the way of most shots. And once he gets going, it's honestly something to fucking watch, boys. I really enjoy watching Vinicius Oliveira fight. I'm going to pick him to win. I'm going to pick Vinicius Oliveira to win this fight. Like I said, I've been fence sitting this shit. I can see Mario Bautista exposing the holes in his striking early on. But like I said, boys, that forward pressure, I feel like it just gets to people in a different way. And I think he's going to be able to do that again here. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Vinicius Oliveira wins this fight by knockout in the 3rd round. I want to say that Bautista has some early success, probably take the 1st round to be honest. While, Oliveira, he can take a little bit to get going. He can take a little bit to find those shots, find the rhythm. He's always going to be on that fucking forward pressure, and I feel like early on he can find himself running into some shit. And I think Bautista will take advantage of that. But I just feel like once Oliveira gets going and starts landing some shit, Bautista's going to feel that power. And maybe he'll engage in some grappling. And I feel like Oliveira has the grappling to defend takedowns. I feel like we could see some good scrambles in this fight. But ultimately, I just feel like that forward pressure, non-stop fucking in your face from Oliveira is going to do some work on Bautista. And I feel like eventually going late in the 2nd, going into the 3rd, we're going to see Bautista start to slow a little bit. He does hold a good pace throughout his fights. I can't remember if he's had a 5-round fight or not, now that I mention that. Something I probably should have looked into, but that's all right. Vinicius Oliveira, he's going to win this fight by knockout in the 3rd round. I could see like a flying knee, like in the Bernardo Serpage fight. Something like that, or a wild fucking overhand, or a dipping uppercut, something like that. Something wild after a flurry of maybe a few strikes landing. I feel like I can see Oliveira put Bautista down and follow up with some ground and pound strikes to get the TKO, or even possibly an out cold knockout. But Bautista has been knocked out once. He's pretty durable, but he does get hit once he starts to slow. And I feel like that's going to happen here. And I feel like once he feels that power, maybe he's not going to be willing to throw as much. And I feel like that forward pressure for Vinicius is just going to wear, like I mentioned. And that's my pick for this fight. And that sums up the deal for this fight card. Look, it's not the last 2 weeks of UFC, but it's a pretty decent fight night. I'm not going to sit here and complain. I feel like even that, like the card they released today, that London card, or yesterday or whatever it was, I feel like that was pretty good. I know there's not many ranked fighters on there, but I feel like there's some really exciting fights to come out of that and some good prospects on the card. If a few too many toilet breaks early on, but at least there's none in the main, I guess. Got to be happy with that. Look, like I said in my last prediction videos, I'm fucking glad this shit was back. That 6-week break was just... that shit was shit, It fucking sucked, boys. It sucked. Anyways, those are my predictions for this card. Thank you so much for watching if you've gotten to this point. Drop a like below if you enjoyed the video. Let me know who you're going with in the comments. Let me know what you think of any of these fights. If you're taking the other fighter, let me know your opinion on the fight and why. I'd love to hear it. I love to hear everyone's opinions. So yeah, much appreciated if you've got to this point of the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.